In a world where the youth only seem passionate about memorizing the latest TikTok dances or song lyrics, it's time we stop and let our words be enriched with the knowledge of the Quran as we enter this new year. Today, we will be looking at some tips from our great contemporary scholars on how to memorize the Quran, and may Allah make it beneficial for us. Sheikh Saleh Al Fawzan was asked, should the students of knowledge start with memorizing the whole Quran first? And he, Hafidhahullah, responded that the student should do so in accordance to what his teacher counsels him with. He should seek the counsel of the teacher that he will study the Quran or knowledge with, and he should take the advice of the teacher. This brings us to tip number 1: get yourself a teacher. The importance of having a teacher that will guide you through your Quran journey cannot be overemphasized. So, make sure to get a teacher or enroll in a Quran learning center. Sheikh Suleiman Ar-Ruhaili said that Abu Al-Aliya used to say, learn 5 verses of Quran, for that is easier for you to memorize. Sheikh Suleiman Ar-Ruhaili then continued by saying, this is the methodology of memorizing the Quran, meaning do not memorize a lot, because the one who memorizes a lot is likely to forget very fast. Ibda' bil qalil, start with little and say to yourself, I'm memorizing only 1 verse a day, but I must memorize it. Then occupy yourself in reciting these verses the whole day. Then start to memorize 2 verses, then 3 verses, then go to 4 verses, and then progress to 5 verses. The point is, commit yourself to memorizing 1 verse daily and do not think about finishing. This brings us to tip number 2: take your Quran journey slow and steady. Don't rush it. Be like the Salaf, our pious predecessors, that would not go beyond 10 verses until they had learned the meanings and acted upon the verses. Al-Usaymi said, whoever wishes to memorize something, then he should raise his voice over what he wishes to memorize. For the raised voice is for memorizing and the lowered voice is for understanding. This brings us to tip number 3: raise your voice whilst memorizing, as it is also scientifically proven that effortful encoding, such as speaking aloud, leads to better retention than passive encoding, silent reading. Before we move on to the next tips on how to memorize the glorious Quran, I have this question for you all. Which is easier, memorizing new verses or revising memorized verses? Leave your answers in the comment section. Now, after memorizing, it is important to review or revise what you've memorized so as to keep the previous verses intact. Based on this, Sheikh Suleiman Ar-Ruhaili advised through his statement, we do not know by way of experience a stronger method of strengthening one's memorization than the night prayer. If you designate the night prayer for the revision of what you've memorized, then this would be the best way to review and revise what you have memorized. Tip number 4: Qumi layla illa qalila, arise to pray the night prayer except for a little. No matter the rak'ah you decide to maintain consistently in your night prayers, utilize that time to revise what you've memorized. Wa Rabbi zidna ilman, may Allah increase us in beneficial knowledge. There are so many ways and tips on how to memorize the Quran, and there are also different styles on how to memorize the Quran, such as the Mauritania style that requires the student to write out the memorized verses onto a plank and then submitting from memory to their teacher, whilst the teacher is going through what has been written on their plank. Some other ways would require you to recite each verse 100 and more times before proceeding to the next, and lots more. We've mentioned 4 tips so far on how to memorize the Quran in 2025, but these tips would not be complete if we do not add a tip number 5, which is avoid sins. Sheikh Abdulrazak Al-Badr said, knowledge is light. It is light for the one who possesses it, and sin is darkness, and darkness of sin extinguishes the light of knowledge. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said, from the effects of sins is being deprived of knowledge. Indeed, knowledge is light that Allah casts in the heart, and sin extinguishes that light. Therefore, it is not befitting for the slave whose hearts have been ignited and lit with the light of knowledge to commit sins that will extinguish this light. Being a youth in the 21st century, it would be safe to say that these are the best of times and also the worst of times. With the world in the palm of our hand, we walk in a thin line between staying on the path of our deen and falling into sin. So let your procrastination end in 2024. Instead of thinking and second guessing about drawing closer to Allah and elevating your status, start your journey to Quran memorization today with the right mindset and motivation. If you found the video informative and educational, feel free to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.